and graduate, class of '88.
right.
So yes,
Yay.
thank you. Go green and gold. I'm so proud of you guys. I mean, to see that big green L out there as a state champion, I couldn't be prouder. I do have to share with you, I did go to state tournament though on the golf team, and this is a true story. Paul O'Halloran was my golf coach. Those of you that knew Paul when he was there. And we went to the state golf tournament, and we finished second to last because one team didn't show up. That is a true story, my friends. So we were not as successful as you guys, but we do have a story to tell. So just big congratulations to you guys.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for what you do. You make us look so good. We're proud of you. And for those of you that will be returning, I suspect some of you may be seniors, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, good. Then we wish you well and what you're going to be doing next year. And for those of you who are not, come back and give it all you've got. Thank you so much. You make us very proud. Okay?
Thank you, guys.
Chris, do you think we can get a picture with this whole group, or that's going to be a big task?
Have them step up on the counter.
Huh? All right.
All right. We can be in the back.
Come on up, guys.
Let's go up here.
Just stand.
Yeah, why don't y'all come on in front?
If we had little stools to stand on for pictures, wouldn't that be awesome? Like we could build seriously, just like that.
All get it.
All right. No.
Okay.
Kind of build around you.
Can you drop that on the? Can one of you drop that on the ground?
I don't know how we're going to do this. They're all big guys. Y'all have to get behind us.
Here's what we're going to do. On the count of three, the guys that are standing, kneel.
They aren't going to do the cheerleading thing. They aren't going to do the whole
Get ready, everybody.
Sean, y'all step back. Let them get
behind us. Put us in the middle.
Yeah, that'll work.
Slide in where you can sit.
Slide down, slide in. 1, 2, second row, kneel. Thank you, Rocky. I appreciate your following directions. Thank you.
Congratulations. Big win.
All right, your turn, right? All right.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Oh, well. Did you need to bury it? Okay.
And before, Madam Chair, if it's okay,
Yes, sir.
before we move on, there are three other individuals I'd like to recognize tonight that have given collectively over 120 years of their time and effort to the Leon County school system. And it's Dr. Marvin Henderson, the deputy school superintendent, who took a chance on a young kid named Rocky Hanna back in 1997, hired him as a dean of students. Had it not been for you and your leadership, Dr. Henderson, I would not be sitting here today. And I can't thank you enough for all that you have given to not only me, but to thousands of kids and others for your service. It just means so very much. So Dr. Henderson, tonight is his last school board meeting. So. And also celebrating her final school board meeting is our director of HR, Miss Vi Dennis. And Vi was led the interview team when I was in the pool to become an assistant principal. And I mean, the entire time I was shaking. She just put her hand on my knee and said, "It's going to be okay." No, she really did. I was so nervous.
I like her.
But she has just been a calming force to so many.
Ms. Rasmussen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To Ms. Dennis, I told her yesterday I'm so excited about her retirement plans. I'm just going to go with her. But thank you for all that you've done and for the legacy that you're leaving here. And we wish you Godspeed. For Dr. Henderson and Mr. Youngblood, when I had the opportunity twice, I guess, in your tenure to serve as chair of this board, I feel like we were in the trenches on more than a few issues. And I'm reminded that passion doesn't come without a little bit of pain sometimes. And I feel so privileged that we were able to be sort of in that trench together, and that I had you by my side. And we worked our way through some tough stuff, and I'm just really grateful to have known you and to have the privilege and honor of working with you and the great legacy that you're going to leave. I figure we'll all go see Mr. Youngblood play in his band, and we'll enjoy the fun times more in the future. But thank you both, all three of you, for what you've given to this district.
Ms. Triplin, would you like to say something?
Just to echo what everybody said, we're such a wonderful school district, and we have so many people to be thankful and credit that to, and the three of them are in this room. You leave us in very good hands. My own Dr. Henderson story, I just have to share it. His daughter Jada and I went to school she was at Leon, I was at Lincoln, obviously, but we danced together and used to travel a little bit, and Dr. Henderson drove the van on several occasions, or Jada and I would go, and we were roommates, and Dr. Henderson was my dad for the weekend, and this was a mighty long time ago. And since I've been here, just the voice of calmness and patience, and never without a smile on your face. I don't think I've ever seen you without a smile. So we love you. You're going to be missed as well as the others. We thank you for everything.
Ms. Lewis Butler needs an amendment.
Yes, I amendment for Ms. Dennis, because at HR, I always called her many times, and she was always available and returned my calls, and I appreciate that. I appreciate everything you've done for me and this community, and especially the employees of this district. Thank you, Ms. Dennis, for your hard work. And to Mr. Youngblood, I just learned the other day that he was an alma mater of ours, Joy. So hats off to you, and you've done so much for this district. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dennis and Mr. Youngblood, would you stand, please, so that we can get a good shot of you on the camera? Dennis, take care of that for us. Thank you, Vi, for all you've done. You've been a steady rock. Please stand up again, Ronnie. We appreciate
Do as she says, I'm telling you.
everything you do. You're just a foundation that undergirds so much of what we do here in Leon County. Thank you very much. Yes. I'm not done, Ronnie. I'm not done. You are also part of that foundation, and we appreciate you. I appreciate the attention to the details that you've always played whenever I've had a question. And as I continue to talk, Dr. Henderson, would you come to the podium, please? You know, our system is good because we have exciting people who are committed to make it good. Vi Dennis and Ronnie Youngblood. And Marvin Henderson, who has been around since some folk would say since the earth was cooling just about. I started to think today, Marvin, about what I would say to you. And so first, I want to thank you for your service to the district. You are indeed a scholar and a gentleman. You have displayed a cool yet firm style of leadership. You have been smart in the completion of your duties. You have been able to hear all sides of a situation before making a decision. I admire that. It has been necessary for you to be the peacemaker, facilitator, and often the bearer of unwanted news, and you carried that out in stellar manner. You have played a vital role in this district's success through the many positions you have held. Your attention to the details and the understanding of your role, Marvin, in the system allowed you to foster respect and trust of your colleagues from the top to the bottom of this system. It would be my honor to have you on my team or me to be on your team in any capacity. You have demonstrated exemplary knowledge and the practice of leadership as you expertly navigated a system as complex and as large as ours, and for that, we thank you. You were the go-to man, Marvin, to often ease decisions throughout the system and this community.
Yes.
Yet you were able to function ethically and competently with all stakeholders. Whoever follows in your footsteps or who follows you will realize that you cannot be replaced, only succeeded. I admire the respect of your service, your sense of duty, and loyalty to the students and staff. Your service to 4 administrations, I believe it was 4, was it 5? We'll tell the 4 right now.
Sure.
Is a testimony to your knowledge, skills, and abilities. You are dependable, you have been accountable, and you have been customer friendly. It would be my desire to have a building named in your honor based on your untiring excellent service to the Leon County School District. It would be well for others to emulate your behavior as a leader, slow to anger, no chips on your shoulder, ego in the right place, able to call it the way you see it, and to still have folk think that you are right with them. You have the ability to view the entire situation and then make a good decision. As you leave this district, unfortunately, so much of our institutional knowledge will leave with you. I wish you God's blessings as you enter the next phase of your life. On behalf of this board and the entire community, I offer a heartfelt, sincere thank you, Marvin. Go in peace.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your
you.
service.
Thank you. I'll just say a word or two.
Please.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bowen and board members, Ms. Superintendent. That really touched my heart. And, I think Albert Einstein said that we should not so much strive for success as rather we should strive for value. And these 42 years with Leon County Schools, that has been my goal, to be of value to the school district and to assist administrators and folks, teachers, people who are responsible for providing a quality educational program, to do as much as I could to help them to do what they needed to do. And they all love what they do. I think they come every day with a goal of doing their very best, and they just need someone who maybe has that the 10,000-foot view to help them, coach them a little bit along the way. I've had many jobs with Leon County Schools as a teacher, an assistant principal of a middle school, assistant principal of a high school, principal of a middle school, principal of a high school, executive director of schools for Area 1, assistant superintendent, deputy superintendent, and in another life, these 46 years in education, I was also a school superintendent, an interim vice president for student affairs at a college, director of a learning center. So I've had a wealth of experiences, and I look forward to turning the page in the next chapter and hopefully providing some additional assistance to people who may still need my help. So I'm not going to go fishing, Mr. Superintendent, yet. My idea of fishing is, I think Mr. Wallen and I probably fished the same market. Timberlane Shops on the square is a nice little fishing place over there. And we bump into each other every now and then. But I know people who fish, Dr. Pridgeon and a few other people. So they keep us stocked up, I think. But I intend to continue to do everything I can to help the whole educational process and our young people, because they really need us. And thank you so much for what you do. Certainly admire each and every one of you for what you do every day. and the decisions, the tough decisions that you make for this school system. Obviously, it's a thankless job, but sometimes, I guess every now and then somebody may see you in the supermarkets and thank you. But most of the time, I'm sure it's usually for another reason. But thank you so much for your commitment. And I look forward to seeing you in the community and possibly working with you in the future. Thank you for your kind words tonight.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're now at reports to be number 5 on the agenda. It appears that there is not a report from the District Advisory Council, Student Advisory Council, Title I. There is, though, listed 504, Water Quality Report. Please, Dr. Pridgeon, would you introduce
Thank you, Madam
that?
Chair and Board. I'd like to, at this time, bring up Rod McQueen. As I said yesterday, he's the certified building official as well as quality assurance for the district, and he's got a special guest that's been working with us over a year. Actually, it started with Ronnie Youngblood,
It did.
this whole water quality, and he's got a great report for you tonight. And so, Rod, come on up and get started.
Thank you, Dr. Pridgeon. Afternoon, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Superintendent. I too like to acknowledge Mr. Youngblood for this excellent program we started, the Water Quality Assurance Program. Just to give you a brief overview of the report that you have in front of you. Last year, we collected 2 samples at each of our schools, and this year we expanded that program to collect 7 samples at each of our elementary schools and our oldest middle and high school. As a result of those efforts, we did encounter our one school, Springwood, where we had a elevated result, and we immediately took action to replace that fixture. Retested that location, and the results came in well below the EPA's action levels. But before I get too involved in the report itself, I want to bring up Chris Hill and let him get more involved into the actual report that you have in front of you. Mr. Hill?
Good evening. Thank you, Rod. Madam Chair, members of the board, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I'd like to thank Mr. McQueen and Mr. Youngblood and their teams for allowing me to participate in this evaluation with them. And kind of before I get into the agenda, I would like to say you all should be very proud of the work that's been done by the Maintenance, Construction, and Code Enforcement Division. It really is a unique and proactive program, and your team really does care about the students' health. I have a brief presentation. It'll just take a few minutes to go through. Am I able to advance it, or how does that work? It was up there. There you go. So just three quick outline items. We'll talk about some of the actions that have happened since the program began in 2016. We'll talk about some of the lead sampling results that Mr. McQueen mentioned, and then we'll talk about some of the overall water quality assurance program evaluation and some of the recommendations. So throughout the 2016-17 school year, after the monitoring that was done, as Mr. McQueen mentioned, in last year, teachers, faculty, administrators, and maintenance staff did daily flushing of every sink and water fountain in every school. They proactively cleaned and replaced any leaky aerator, and then they hired a water quality consultant to evaluate the program, that's me, the program that they have, and make any recommendations for improvements to that program. A couple of weeks ago, as Rodney mentioned, they did conduct extensive lead monitoring at every elementary school, 7 samples at each school, and they did the oldest middle and high schools, and the results of those we'll go through here. So the graph that you see is the maximum lead concentration at every school. The red line is the US EPA action level. It's important to note that that's not a health-based level. It's just a level that is identified that when you see that, you should take some further action. And in this case, at Springwood Elementary, they did take further action. As Mr. McQueen said, they identified at Springwood Elementary one particular sink that had a high lead level, and they immediately replaced it, and the levels now at that school are well below the action level. So the next slide, thank you, is all of the results, all 7 results at Springwood Elementary, and you can see just the one level there above the action level. And as I said, that fixture was replaced. And the next slide shows the results after replacement. They're all well below 0.005. And in fact, they're around 0.02, 002, and 003 milligrams per liter. Next slide. So 26 schools, every elementary school, 24 of those, the oldest middle and high schools, 7 samples at each school, total of 182 samples. The maximum value, again, was that 0.093. Replaced that fixture, and after the retest, the level was 0.002. 95% of all samples, so of the 182 samples taken, were less than 0.005. So the conclusion, based on my analysis of those results, are that drinking water in Leon County schools is of high quality and safe. And as I said, the program that you all have implemented is really one of a kind in the state and one of just a few in the country. The other piece of what I was asked to do was kind of review the practices that have been implemented by this team, and make some recommendations if improvements could be made. As I said, it's the first of its kind in Florida, one of just a handful in the country where people are actually proactively monitoring water quality in schools. The program that's been implemented is consistent with industry best practices. I don't know if Mr. McQueen has presented to you before, but the US EPA has created the 3 T's document. So it's training, training their staff, testing, looking for water quality problems in schools, and then telling, after you find results, putting them out. And the website that is available through the Leon County School Board puts all these results out there for students and parents to see. So the practices are consistent with industry best practices. Recommendations moving forward is to sample every source of drinking water in elementary schools. As we said, they did 2 last year, they did 7 this year, but there may be some additional faucets or drinking fountains that should be tested, so all of those should be tested. They need to continue with their regular flushing program that they've implemented that's been very effective at maintaining water quality in the schools. And then last but not least, the practices that they've implemented should be documented so that in the event of a retirement, as we have heard this evening, those practices are able to continue. And that, I believe, is all I have. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Just like to add a little bit to Mr. Hill's presentation. The program includes flushing, testing, preventative measures, and corrective measures. Preventative measures we put in place is going to be active flushing through the recommendation from Mr. Hill. We initially started out with flushing every day, and we've reduced that practice down to flushing on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We hope to get down to where we're reducing on once a week. We've implemented that program while the school's been out in the month of June, and in doing so, we found the levels remain well below the action level of 15 parts per million. The preventative measures that we've put in place, the corrective measures we put in place are replacing any aerators that we get high levels of testing in, replacing any fixtures through our capital outlay program and/or through work orders as they come about, and all this is done through our maintenance department with Mr. Butch Watkins. And in the future,
I want to add something to the reason we're looking at this study that our consultant's helping us with is your sewer rates are based on your water usage. And when we first started the program, we were flushing every day, which means your water, and Merrill let me know this real quickly, that your water rates go up as well as your sewer rates. So our consultant said, let's start testing at a site and see what is the true spot where you really need to be flushing at sites, so you get not only the best cost, best bang for your buck. So that's why we're looking at a test of how many you actually need to do in a week at a site.
Thank you, Dr. Pridgeon. And again, in the future, we're going to look at testing our 9 middle schools and our 6 high schools, and looking at our older elementary schools that were built before 1980, and proceeding with the recommendations of Mr. Hill. Any questions?
Yes, Ms. Rasmussen, and then I'll have some. Go ahead.
Mr. Hill, can I ask you a question? Thank you for your service and your assistance and expertise. I appreciate this. I just would like to hear from you, because we had a lot of questions in the early phases of this. This might have been one of those bunker issues I dealt with Mr. Youngblood on. When there is a an issue with a particular, like I remember one time we had this really exorbitant number and it was because of the filter on the faucet.
I didn't get that.
So I just want to clarify, you just say that if you're comfortable saying this, that our flushing exercises, even if we're doing them on a weekly sporadic basis, is sufficient given, if we're only, I guess, I'm rambling. If we're only testing 2 faucets or 2 sinks or 7 sinks, how are we making sure, is the flushing sufficient to make sure that there aren't additional instances where a faucet or a filter would lead to lead in the water that would be consumed by a student or in the kitchen?
There's a few parts to your question, so let me
Thank you.
answer it a little differently. So with regard to the filters or the aerators on each faucet, the departments have implemented a program where they're proactively going around inspecting, cleaning, and replacing those. So they are at least annually cleaning and replacing, if they need to be replaced, all of those. We did additional testing, which we didn't present tonight, to see the benefits of flushing. And what we were able to see is that there was always, the way we did it, we took a sample, and then we flushed, and then we took another sample, and then we waited a day and took a sample for the whole week. And there was clearly a benefit to flushing. The level was always lower after flushing, and the level was always in that five or less range that I mentioned. So yes, the flushing is sufficient. That doesn't mean that we don't ignore the aerators. We still want to go around and clean those as they're doing. And then when we identify particular fixtures, as the one we mentioned at Springwood, if there are similar models throughout the district, then those should also be replaced, and they're implementing that as well.
So if I could ask one follow-up, Madam Chair, if at a school we're looking at 7 different water sources, 7 sinks, 7 water fountains, whatever it might be, what is the likelihood that any other number of sinks in the school, in a teacher's classroom where a water fountain might be, or a kid comes in from recess and drinks water, God forbid, out of the hose like we used to, what are the flushing exercises and the combination of these other tests sufficient that you're,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, I have an elementary age student, and I would put her in any one of these schools, and she could drink from the faucet, so absolutely.
That's what I'd like to hear. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Other questions? I have a quick one. I believe I heard you say, Ms. McQueen, that in the future, the plan is to test the other schools?
Yes, ma'am.
What's that date? How soon?
Well, it's recommended by Mr. Hill that we test during normal operation hours, so we're looking to start that efforts in the fall. So once school gets back in, say mid-September, we'll go ahead and begin testing those schools in the fall.
Okay.
And to add to Ms. Rasmussen, or to answer her question, we did go through that practice of reducing the flushing, and the results are on page 13 of your sample, of your booklet here.
Thank you.
All right.
Can I say something, Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr.
So I asked Dr. Pridgeon to put this presentation together. I thought it was only fitting, given it was Mr. Youngblood's last meeting, that we would show you what we've been doing over the last 6 months to address this issue, this situation. Mr. Hill, thank you so much for partnering with us, and Rod and Butch and all the hard work you've done. We still have work to do. We will continue to address these issues, and like Mr. Hill said, I think it's probably one of a kind for the state of Florida, with Leon County Schools leading the way and being proactive now, given what happened in the past, in instituting a flushing system. We are going to do all of our district sites and district offices over the summer while they're in operation, and then follow up with our remaining sites in the fall. And it's going to just be a continuous process. And yes, we went from two spots to 7. We will continue to increase those numbers and continue testing. It is an expense and a cost, but not nearly the cost of endangering our children's health. So that's always going to be our first priority. But I think we've had a common sense approach to this. There were alarms and bells and whistles going off all across the school system when this first report came out. And I think we have done an admirable job with y'all's leadership.
Yes, we have. And I think it's safe to say on television that drinking water in Leon County schools is of high quality and is safe for students and faculty. That is the takeaway from this.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, I'm sorry. Uh-huh.
This is maybe down the road, but I know we've talked a lot about the importance of all of our many pre-K centers in Tallahassee, our early childhood centers, and since we are an institution of education for Leon County, I want to make sure the superintendent hears this. Okay, I just want to make sure, I guess I'm requesting that we consider some sort of seminar for the community, that we publicize this to our pre-K institutions, and at least share the tips that we've learned about flushing, because a lot of people don't know about this, and we know that lead in the water is the most serious for the youngest children. And so since we're a leader in the state doing this, I'd like to see us to be a leader in the community and provide education seminars for our pre-K centers, even the mom and pop ones, but especially our centers, and offer that as a service to the community in general.
I'm sure we can reach out to the mayor's office. I know this is a big issue for him too, and the Children's Summit and all the work he's done with our pre-K programs and VPK programs. So Chris Petley will reach out to his staff, and we can kind of partner with the city to see how we can develop something to share what we've learned with those groups.
Thank you.
Ms. Resserson?
I bet Denver Lee could make a dynamite instructional video for those daycare
He'd love
centers.
to do it. He'd love to do it. Because one of the initial questions was, how do we tie in with the city? And is there any responsibility that they could have had in any of this? And I think the answer was whatever it was. But at this point, we want to make sure that all main lines leading to Leon County schools are safe.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Further
job.
comments?
Thank you.
None? Thank you.
Mr. Youngblood, congratulations.
You did it.
Say that one of the reasons we went with Arcadius, that's who's
Okay.
here tonight, is because of the recommendation, because they are partners with the city. So they know our water system, so that's where it comes from. Of course, we get it from Talcum also.
Wonderful.
You really only heard a little bit of where his involvement is going to be as we move forward, and it's a great thing.
Thank you.
And
for
Mr.
making-
Hill and Mr. Youngblood was educating us on the 3 T's 6 months ago.
That's
So-
right. Right. Train, test, and tell. Thank you all so much. Oh, give them a hand anyway. Thank you. Good information. 5.05 Annual School Resource Deputy Report. Mr. Honkier, I think that would be you, Mr. Superintendent, is that right?
Yes, ma'am, and Chief Hunkyar is on his way up here to talk about our annual report with the School Resource Deputy Program.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Board members, each time this time of year, you get to hear from our School Resource Deputy Unit and get the annual report that will go over the goals and objectives as well as the statistics for the year. A little different this year, we decided we'd bring them all here. And they joined us for a brief reception, and they're also in their Class A uniforms, so they're getting hotter and hotter by the minute. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Chief Audrey Smith, who's going to provide the report to you.
All right, come on up. Chief Smith, welcome.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Superintendent, and board members, good evening. I'm Audrey Smith,
evening.
the Chief of Youth Services for the Leon County Sheriff's Department. On behalf of Chief Walt McNeil, who regrets that he could not be here with you tonight, I would like to present the report to you. You've been provided a copy of the 2016-2017 annual report for the School Resource Unit, but I'm going to highlight just a couple of things. First of all, our resource unit, as John said, are here with us tonight, but these deputies, the 22 of them, have worked hard over the past school year. They've responded to over 9,000 complaints. 1,720 of those complaints were criminal in nature, and 7,350 were non-criminal. Now, the majority of those complaints were handled either administratively, such as referrals back to the schools, or through some type of intervention or diversion program. Diversions, recorded diversions totaled 1,299, and of those, 92 were civil citations for the juveniles. This is the first year that the Leon County Sheriff Office has used what we call the Spirit Program. That is an initiative that allows us to refer students and their families to needed social services. We recognize that a lot of the issues that we deal with are not always criminal in nature, and as such, we partner with social service and other organizations to provide such services to the youth and, like I said, their families. Now, I will admit that this, after we've reviewed the Spirit Program over the first year, it has not been implemented as we thought. So we are in the process of revamping that program to, one, make sure that we make more referrals, but two, to make sure that we have providers to which we can make referrals to. Not only did the number of criminal complaints for this school year decrease by 7%, but the number of arrests also decreased by 11%. Let me quickly go through the goals and objectives for the school year and tell you how we met those. Our first goal was to instruct students using set curricular for crime prevention and law enforcement related education that includes social media. We did that through more than 1,500 educational instructional opportunities. The School Resource Unit also co-sponsored extracurricular and co-curricular activities during the school year and also during the summer. We participated in co-sponsored programs such as our teen driving program. We did cyber safety seminars, project graduation. We sponsored the Sheriff Youth Ranch, the Sheriff Adventure Camp. We also have the Explorer programs, which I must add brought home lots of awards during their competition last week. And then we also partnered with Students Against Drunk Driving. The second goal was to make a diversionary or rehabilitative impact on students through referrals and counseling. Our deputies, like I said, responded to quite a few complaints, but they also counseled over 11,000 students this school year. We also had 2,800 parent counseling sessions. And as I mentioned before, juvenile civil citations were 92 issued, and for the Spirit referrals, we did 307. This school year was the first year that we implemented the elementary school detail. This allowed us to place deputies in our elementary schools to make contact with our youngest students. The third goal was to present cyber safety programs to both our middle and high school students. Again, we did this through classroom instruction, also through our specialty programs such as the Sheriff Adventure Camp, Teen Driving, and then the Explorers program. And then the last goal was to be proactive regarding the use of alcohol, tobacco, and drugs in and around Leon County schools. First and foremost, education to our students to be aware of drugs and also to prevent that was what we did. But we also made sure that instead of arresting the youth for their experimentation, that we actually use referrals for that type of event. In addition to these goals, earlier this year, we implemented a process where we inform our schools when a child has been involved in a domestic or some type of traumatic experience. Without divulging the facts or the specifics of a case, we feel that it's important and vital for us to inform the guidance counselors and the principals of issues that may adversely affect the academics of a child. We had one SRD, school resource deputy, to actually retire this year and one who's been reassigned. And although we are slightly adjusting, most of our deputies will be returning to the program and to the same schools that they were in next school year. So this kind of summarizes 2016-2017. As we move forward to the next school year, our goals will include not only educating our youth, but also educating our administrators and the staff on our school safety programs, our gang awareness, and also prevention initiatives. As I said earlier, we will be retooling our Spirit program and making more referrals. And then we're also looking forward to placing mentors in our elementary schools. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments, board members? Go ahead, Ms. Rasmussen, and I'll speak.
Thank you very much. We are very grateful for your partnership. I don't ever go on a campus that I don't see students interacting with you and you helping to be proactively involved in their lives, setting a great role model and preventing many more things than you have to handle. And so we're very grateful. And one of my favorite programs that I have to give a plug for, because I hear that there's some openings still, so I was hoping if you can help me with the details, maybe the Teen Driver Challenge at Cox helping in the
Yes.
next 3 weeks, I think. Maybe we can get a PSA up, Mr. Superintendent. It's a great course where students are taught how to not overcorrect and how to defensively drive. It's a step above traditional driver's ed. My 3 children did it, and then they made me do it.
Actually, that program starts tomorrow. And we are booked solid. Every class for the
Wow,
next
that's
5
perfect.
weeks is booked.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I
Yes.
thought maybe there was some capacity there. Well, anyway, so for next year, or hopefully we can find a way to partner further and expand the number of offerings. That's a tremendous
Absolutely.
asset.
Great, great. Anyone else? No. This is yes, Ms.
Just a
Strickland,
quick
go ahead.
second. I know we're running long, but I just
That's
can't
okay.
go without thanking Chief Smith and the sheriff and those of you that are in the room for your advocacy for mentoring. I know that the sheriff has taken a very loud and proud stance. In fact, I was sharing with Miss Lewis Butler, your hashtag all in, this slogan that you guys are using everywhere. I love this. You guys will see it everywhere. Hashtag all in. He is all in. And with the support of everyone in this room, they are making a difference in kids' lives and they're putting themselves out there, mentoring a child in different schools throughout town. And I cannot say how grateful our community is for you guys, all of you, not only what you do on the job in our schools, but what you're doing off your job in our schools as well.
Thank you.
Totally. Ms. Lewis Butler.
Yeah, and thank you, Ms. Smith, Chief Smith, for you, for being there, and also the sheriff for putting you there as a leader. You're doing a great job. We like the SRO doing an outstanding job, especially as I go through the book, I'm looking at counseling, and it's so needed. And I'm seeing that so many students, our students at these schools, are being counseled by the SRO. And it's so important. And I thank them for that, for taking time to listen to these students. That's what they need, somebody to listen to them so they know what to do next. Thank you, and thank the SROs.
Thank you.
For doing a great job.
Yes, we do thank you, and I particularly love the all-in working together to make Leon County safer, because that takes it further than our schools. I was sharing at the reception, which was very nice, by the way, that my dad is looking down from heaven right now at me as I'm thanking police officers for the outstanding work they do, because when I was growing up in my community, my dad said, "Joy, you don't want to be a police officer and you don't want to be a politician. You cannot trust them." Well, I'm glad that the world has changed, Daddy, because I'm sitting here tonight thanking police officers for what they do at our schools and for what they do in the community. Boys and girls in all of our communities, and certainly some more than others, need the opportunity to be up close to friendly police officers who have an understanding of who they are and where they come from. And that kind of difference in our schools can make a great difference in our communities. And so I say most sincerely how much we appreciate what you do. And I thank the 22 men and women who we used to call officer friendlies. That's what they were early on. And now there's a new title, resource officers. So I hope that our cooperation and the kind of collaboration that we're enjoying right now will last for a long time, and that next year we will see even a greater decrease in the number of those, I shall not call them crimes, those instances where a difference in the life of a student were made. We're just leaving a conference last week, and one of the things that was a takeaway for me, when kids know you care about them, they will want to go that extra mile for themselves because you've shown them that you have some attention about what it is they're doing.
Amen.
So we thank you for that. And to have the kind of training sessions so that in our community we can continue to be on cutting edge. So thank each of you, and we look forward to having you back next year.
Thank you.
Our best to the sheriff.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're having a good meeting tonight, aren't we? Y'all supposed to say yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
All right, we're now at items of consent.
Move approval?
Second.
Moved by Stripling, second by, flip-flop?
Yep.
Moved by Woods, second by
Rasmussen.
Rasmussen. Okay, you are ready for the question. You, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously unless there's a question. Okay,
Madam Chair, if I may.
sir?
Part of that consent agenda was item 6.03, personnel actions.
Yes.
And before we go any further, I'd like to take an opportunity to introduce the last piece of our puzzle for this upcoming year.
Yes.
We advertised and interviewed for a transformational principal over the last several weeks and are proud tonight to introduce Dr. Rhonda Flanagan, who will be taking over leadership role at Hartsfield Elementary School. So, Dr. Flanagan, if you would please stand to be recognized. She was with our school system years ago and then went on to higher ed at Florida State University and now has returned to her roots and her calling and passion and working with our school children and can't tell you how excited we are, Dr. Flanagan, about the wonderful things that you are going to bring to Hartsfield Elementary School. So anyway, congratulations, and we're happy to have you on board.
Yes. Ms. Wood, you
To
look
say
as you
one
wanna
thing, I do, because Dr. Flanagan and I go way back, sort of like Dr. Henderson and I do. Many years ago, it was Miss Flanagan at the time, came to my school and shadowed me and tried to become somewhat of a mentor, and we've stayed in touch ever since. And I knew the minute I met her, I forget how many years ago, it was a few, that she was going to be a great leader. And it
Good.
just thrills me that you're going to take the leadership role at Hartsfield. Happens to be in my district, so I hope I can come over and be part of the transformation that you're about to lead. And just so pleased, Superintendent, that you made that decision. So welcome aboard.
Welcome, Dr. Flanagan. Ms. Lewis Butler.
Yeah, I wanted to share that Dr. Flanagan and I go way back as well from Bellevue. And so she's always been a great educator and dynamic leader. So we're excited to have you aboard as a leader in our schools. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis Butler. I am looking for another item on here that I thought I wanted to comment about, but I don't see it. Help me find it, Mr. Wallen.
Oh, it's at the end. It's on consideration.
Okay, good, thank you. All right, now we're ready for the consideration agreement agenda item 18.01, which is a public hearing. And the superintendent recommends that following a public hearing, approval amendments to policy 6700, overtime and compensatory time pursuant to Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, effective June 21, 2017.
There are no speakers.
There are no speakers. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move
Ms. Butler.
18.01.
All right.
Second.
Second by Stripling. Questions? All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposers? It passes.
Madam Chair, did we vote on the last item? I just don't remember voting under items of consent. I know we
There was a motion and a second and a vote on.
voted, okay. Thank you. I just,
Okay.
all right.
All right. So
Want to
now,
make sure those personnel appointments were legal.
Yeah, we did.
they
Okay,
are
great. Thank
legal.
you.
They're it's in the book. Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor of 18.01, say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. 18.02 is a public hearing for adoption as well, where the superintendent recommends following a public hearing, approval of amendments to package 5120, assignment, school choice, and reassignment, and new policy 5121, controlled open enrollment effective June 21, 2017.
I move
Any speakers?
18.02.
No speakers.
No speakers. It's been moved by Lewis Butler,
Second.
second by Rasmussen. Is there a question? No questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Question. There's a question.
Yeah, just because this is such a sensitive subject to everyone in our community, could we just have again just a brief synopsis of what this entails? Is anyone listening?
Yes.
Yay, there she is. You know what, and you've
on
been
the
ready
way.
for this, what, 3 or 4 times now, and we've skipped right over you.
I know.
Tonight's your night. Although I know you've done this before, but I would just appreciate it. I think this is, we talk about the things we most often get calls on, and this would be up there, top 3.
get those
So
calls,
thank
too.
you. I know you do.
Thank you.
So this will align us with the, this will align us with the statute that, for controlled open enrollment. We didn't have this policy in place, and now we had to have this policy to align us with the statute for the new reassignments.
Okay, and can you define controlled open enrollment? Can you give us a little bit more?
So that is a tool that anybody can request reassignment any school they wish, as long as there are seats available. And so that limited, we had to keep a seat count, we had to keep availability, capacity versus enrollment at every school, so we knew how many seats were available. And we had thousands of applications come in. We weren't able to approve them all because not all schools had the seats to align, to give out as many seats as we had request.
And when we say open seats, there was a percentage, I believe, like assigned.
Right, it is now 95%, so.
95%. And those people that applied, sorry.
Go ahead.
Train of thought.
So they applied from January until April 1st, and then we would keep the capacity not to go over 95, which gave 5% for students to move into the zone.
Okay. And the people, how were they assigned, the ones that applied between January to?
They were, so if their first choice was available, we were able to give them that, but we also gave them second and third choice. So sometimes their first choice wasn't available, but their second or third was.
But I mean, were they assigned depending on kind of a chronological when they
I'm sorry.
applied with you?
Yes, like charter choice and sibling support and grandfathering, employee choice. Is that the?
No, so if you had somebody that applied January the 5th and for a certain school that was at 94% capacity, you had another person that applied February the 28th, did that first person that applied January get a top
Yes.
priority over so there was kind of a
Yes, it
chronological?
was, right.
Just to clarify, thank you.
So if I were to ask the question this way, and I better say it softly, would we have any schools that are, I dare not say closed, but at the enrollment capacity?
They are at their capacity.
And what schools would those be?
Well, there would be, like, I do know them, but
They're listening.
Leon Lincoln and Childs High School,
All right.
Montford Middle School, Gilchrist Springwood, Buck Lake now. And then there's some schools capacity that it's now at this point of, because of the amount of applications, not the whole school is full, but some grades.
Okay,
So
okay.
some of the kindergartens, like at Kate Sullivan and Killearn, Buck Lake is definitely, Hawks Rise has some seats, but, so it's now we're at the seat level to see if we could accommodate the latter part of the elementary school.
I knew you had all of the answers. Mr. Superintendent, you're there for something.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, another key piece, this is only for this year. We're just getting through this enrollment period, through open enrollment, and now, next year, we'll come right back and look at a way of work moving forward. For this past year, we had the charter school choice option, we had sibling support options, we had employee options who took priority over other students in the controlled open enrollment phase. So next year, we will have discussions moving forward about potentially a lottery and how we want to be fair for all the applicants that are applying to have choice options.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
just before we lose thought of that, define what you mean by this year and next year. What you mean is the fall of
Sam.
17, 18, it's done.
Right, so.
Looking at 18, 19,
Looking at 18, 19, yes, ma'am. So when we go in January of 2018 to evaluate the choice options for the 18, 19 school year, that's when we'll have to kind of revamp the whole system. Jamie's done amazing work, as
Yes,
you all
she
know. I
has.
mean, I rave about, she's wonderful. And to deal with those calls, I mean, those, next to Sharonda, my assistant, I can't imagine. But having said that, this gets us through this year. We've seen, and Ms. Woods brought some of these concerns forward about people coming out of private school into public schools have gotten priority over people that have been with the public schools for years and years and years. And how can we make it fair for all members of our community to have a say-so or a part of these school choice options?
All right.
I do have one question. This is pretty basic. So you said 95%. So if, you mentioned Kate Sullivan, the kindergarten was full. If a person moves into the Kate Sullivan zone and they have a kindergarten child, what happens to that child?
Oh, zone students are never turned away. It's my reassignment seats when I talk
All right.
about
I just wanted to
95%.
clarify that.
They'll always
That's
make
good.
room for their home zone students.
So that's why we left that 5% cushion
Okay.
for those
Okay.
kids that
Good.
move in.
I thought so, but I just wanted to say
That
that
was a
for the
good
record.
question, good question. Any other good questions? Hearing none, thank you, Jamie, you do an outstanding job. That cool smile helps us immensely.
Need to
All in
vote, yep.
favor of the, no further speakers?
No, ma'am.
Then we just need a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is the same. It passes unanimously. 18.03 is a public hearing and adoption as well. The superintendent recommends, following a public hearing, approval of amendments to policy 6840, audit committee, effective June 21, 2017. No speakers?
No, ma'am.
Move approval?
Moved by Wood, second by
Second.
questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. 18.04, the superintendent recommends approval of the Renaissance Learning, Inc. Accelerated Reader License Agreement Renewal for 2017-2018. Motion, please.
Okay.
Could we have
This is,
Oh, we got some speakers. I'm
That's okay.
sorry, I didn't look up.
That's okay.
Thanks, Shane.
this is for Star Reading and Accelerated
Yes.
Reader. These are our reading programs that we progress monitor for our students throughout the year. They took the place of the PMRN, or the FAIR testing, and that is required by state statute. So we progress monitor all of our students and all of the students that are scoring below proficiency.
Okay.
Okay.
Helpful. Ms. Liz Butler.
So you do all schools?
It does happen at all schools, yes, ma'am.
Elementary.
All elementary schools.
All elementary schools? Okay, you don't do middle school and high schools?
No, ma'am.
We do our priority middle schools. So for schools that were in need of additional support, we do offer the testing for them as well.
All the students that score below proficiency.
Below proficiency. Have we been doing this for a time? Is this new?
This is
Yeah, we've been doing this for,
at least 6, 7, 8 years.
yeah.
So we've seen some improvements, and that's why we're continuing. I just thought I'd throw that in. I suspect that was part of your continuing report, right?
Right.
Further comments and questions? We appreciate all you do. It is important that students read, because probably if they can read, they'll be able to do many other things. Not
Absolutely.
probably, but they can. Would you agree?
That's
Thank
correct.
you, gentlemen. Haven't heard this discussion. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Moved by
Second.
Rasmussen, second by Louis Butler's. Question from anyone? Hearing none. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate that. Item 18.05, Tallahassee Lynn County Planning Commission representative for 2017-2020.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Sure.
And by the way, happy birthday, Dr. Gale.
Oh, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Dr. Gale. Happy birthday to you.
Tricked you,
And
didn't
many more. So you got the whole Monty, okay.
The reason we're both up here at this time is this position is very important. The superintendent asked us to look out in the community, and he actually looked out as well as we did to find this, because this person that sits on this planning commission will both work with Dr. Gale. She's got to lead her through the steps with as far as getting certified with city and the county, as well as talking about what's happening in the future, which I'm looking at construction side, she's looking at school choice size. So it's very important that we have that, and we have been able to talk Ms. Pat Weaver into assuming this role. Superintendent said her name, and if you don't know, Ms. Weaver was a longtime employee of this district. One of the greatest ladies she was our assistant principal at Leon when I was there.
Okay.
As well as Rocky. She kept us both straight. Great lady. She volunteered, kind of, sort of, but it's a big role. And I really appreciate her. And the reason I'm taking so long to do this is because a former school employee is helping us out with these committees who have a lot of knowledge, Dr. Henderson. So she retired, and so some of these things coming up, we may be calling you. I hope I can get a lot of amens on that one.
I heard him say it for a small fee. I just heard, but I'm not one to talk. Go on with your
Okay, Dr. Gale.
presentation.
Oh, Ms. Pat Weaver, as he said.
Of course.
She has 2 applications that she has to go before the Leon County City Commission and County Commission. Once you approve this appointment, and she's saying that she will attend meetings on behalf of Leon County Schools and occasionally provide reports to us as needed. She will fill out these applications, go before them in July, so that she's ready for her appointment on this committee in August.
Okay, all right.
Move
Questions?
approval.
Second.
Well, we had one question here.
That's fine. So, and I don't see her in the audience. Is she going to join us at some point to maybe discuss? I'm particularly interested in this item because I know you guys have heard me rant that we have not had anybody giving us kind of the 10,000-foot level view of what's going on in Leon County. So I am so excited about this, and I love Ms. Weaver. I'm glad that she's going to be doing this. So how often will she be going? When will she be reporting to us? What will that entail?
The meeting's once a month, first Tuesday of the month. It's a regular board meeting. And what we can do is, she's probably going to need to meet with us both after that, each one, and we'll prepare a little report if that's what you want, of what's going on. But she's actually a voting member.
It probably doesn't need to be monthly, I don't think.
Quarterly,
It's just-
yeah.
Yeah, something, I think, again, we hear a lot of talk, in the community about the growth and what are we doing to retain kids, and just Tallahassee's booming, and they always talk about, we're not gonna keep people here unless the school system is amazing, which we are. But we want to be at that table, and now we are. This has been long, I feel like this has been a long time coming and don't know why it hasn't happened up to now. So she just plays such a crucial role in the growth of our community, and our schools are such a key component. I just want her to know how important this is to us and to get that feedback on, so we can see what's coming in our community and plan for it accordingly. I feel like that's really been missing, and I'm anxious to hear how often that's going to be happening.
Right.
So noted.
Ditto, ditto, ditto. Okay.
And one thing, we discussed this yesterday, that Wayne Tedder and people from the city planning commission are going to come do a presentation to the board in July. We'll also bring some folks from Blueprint 2000 just to give information on what you said. What are the proposed developments and projects moving forward for our county?
Yeah, that's very important. As a matter of fact, I think I have made a big mistake. I think I saw Chamber President Sue Dick in the audience earlier. She left. I'm sorry, Sue. I should have welcomed you. So if you're listening out there or you look later, please know that we are acknowledging your presence. We wanted to hear from you, and I was just a little slow tonight, but I'll be faster next time, okay? Thank you.
Laura Rogers is here.
Hey, Laura is here. Where's Laura?
Right here.
Oh,
Always.
I tell
And
you.
everywhere.
All right, good. Thank you, Laura, for being there. Do we have other before y'all, city and commission and county folk in the audience? There's a glare up here and I'm not able to see. Opal is not from the city, okay? All right.
Madam Chair,
Yes. Ms.
if I could, this is the post that I think Mr. Jack Madden served. Patrick Madden, I'm sorry, I meant that. So I just wanted to publicly thank him for the couple of years now, I think, several years actually, that he held this position on our behalf, and thank him for his service, and happy to
Yes.
have Ms. Weaver come and take that spot now.
Yes, we are. Thank her very much. We look forward to her affiliation with her, and she'll do an outstanding job.
We
All
need a
right.
motion and.
We need a motion. Mr. Wallen said enough talk.
Approval.
Move approval. It's been motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposes the same. It passes unanimously. Thank you, doctors, for that. 18.06.
Yes, this is the recommendation for the selection committee did for the continuing contracts for emergency construction projects, 1.5 million. And that's in case there's an emergency like we had at Deer Lake when we had a busted pipe. If it is, we could immediately get somebody on the job. And these are the ones that were selected by the committee.
Move approval.
Moved by Strickland, second by Wood. Questions from anyone? Hearing, seeing none. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Thank you. 1807, the superintendent. Oh, you're still there? Yes, sir.
ma'am.
Keep talking.
This is the selection committee, the three selection committee representatives for the continuing contracts for construction management services for next year, and $500,000.
Move approval.
Moved by Strickland, second by Wood. Questions? None. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. It passes unanimously. 1808, Mr. Danny.
1808 is a selection that we've done for DAG Architects for master planning at Woodville, Fairview, and Rickards. This will give us the approval to negotiate with them and bring a contract back to y'all.
Move approval.
Move by who? By Wood, second by
Second.
Oh, question.
Me too.
Rasmussen. Questions by Lewis.
Oh, yeah, the information, that data that they gather, they'll bring it back to the board, so we'll get a chance to look at everything first?
Yes, ma'am. As we move forward, what this will do, they'll look at curriculum of schools, space designs. They'll work with us on moving forward with our budget and everything else.
And we'll get a chance to see space design and all that?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. We will bring all of it back to the board for y'all's, for y'all. It wouldn't be approval. The contract will come for approval, but we'll bring the information back to the board.
Okay, Ms. Rasmussen, you had a question? No, that wasn't you. That was you, Ms. Striplin.
Thank
Sorry.
you. And I brought this up yesterday, and I'm could you give yourself 24 hours and kind of mull it over. And I'm having trouble getting comfortable with this one. I think it's just it's out of the norm. My issue yesterday was, why are we hiring one firm and a master plan with 3 different schools that, in my mind, don't really have a whole lot to do with each other. I mean, I understand Fairview feeds into Rickards, but Woodville's a whole different area. And this could have been, so my 2 concerns were, and they still continue to be, this could have been work that could have been given to 3 different firms. And then my other concern, I think I heard you say yesterday, that then another architect would be hired when the plans were actually developed. So in my mind, we're hiring an architect to do the master plan, and then we're going to be hiring 3 additional architects for each school. So, I think you guys are great at what you do, and I know that you're doing this for a very well-intended reason, but I have difficulty seeing the cost effectiveness in this. And I think as I try to understand where you guys are coming from, I think, again, it goes back to communicating with the board, possibly when something unusual comes before us, or something that, I don't even know if unusual is the right word, but something that's kind of different and that's going to entail some funding and something that we need to wrap our hands around, it might be good to present us with our cost analysis ahead of time. So this is why we're doing it this way. This is how much it's going to cost, and it kind of to give us that information and include us in the discussion before it appears as an agenda item. And I would, if there's I'm trying to get comfortable with it. I'm not, but I'm wondering if anybody else has any other thoughts.
I guess I want to ask a question, and presenting it this way and handling it this way, Danny, is this, I'm seeing this as a money-saving mechanism opportunity. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. This will help us schedule. It will help us meet the needs of the district.
Okay.
Normally, this would have went through the continuing contracts.
Right.
But with it being 3 sites, with the changes that we've done on the south side, the direction we were going, direction we're going, there's opportunity that there may be a lot of public input into this. Therefore, we went with a selection.
Okay, all right. Rasmussen, then Lewis Butler.
Mr. Albritton, would you explain the difference between what this firm is going to do for the comprehensive 3-site, I forgot the term of art you have.
Master plan.
Master plan versus that which individual architectural firms might do at the individual 3 different school sites?
What we're doing here with this one is looking at each site, their individual sites, but we're looking at it as a continuation of a project moving forward to revitalize some of the south side schools that have not had a lot of work at them. We're looking at, we've had several buildings that DOE has approved us to demo in place. We're looking at the infrastructure of them. We're looking at and if we brought in a single architect and gave them this, we would be doing the exact same thing. They would be looking at all this also. But this is a long-term plan with our budgets where we're at right now with what we've been receiving through capital outlay. This could be a 7-8 year plan, a process out.
So is it, if I might, Madam Chair, is it similar sort of to the CERT committee that went out and took a broader look at the entire district to come up with a list of priorities so that we could figure out what we could afford to fund? And then later, you would have individual architects who would design those pieces that we prioritize for funding? Is that the reason that
Yes,
you're?
they're helping us with budgeting and scheduling, because right now I don't see where we can go to one school and take care of the entire project.
And would the selected firm then not be, they are the planner, they are not, they would not be eligible to be selected to actually do the work on these campuses?
They will be eligible if the selection committee approves them.
Okay.
Yes, they will have to come in and prove that they're the most qualified firm.
Okay, so it doesn't mean because you're there, you get to do this?
No.
All right, I got it. Ms. Lewis Butler, then Ms. Wood.
The selective firm will analyze a building, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And they will analyze every site in that building, every site.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I want to make sure not just doing 2 buildings when the whole thing may need to come down.
No,
Like,
ma'am.
like the cafeteria, the band room, the bathroom.
They'll be looking.
I don't just focus on 2 buildings and see it got old, dilapidated, whatever still there.
Right.
That's what I'm going to be looking at.
And it's similar to like the Fairview site. When you go in there, a lot of the classrooms were built at a minimum size, and where the school needs labs, we need to go in there and remodel that area and put quality in that school that we've been putting in the last schools for the last 10, 12 years. We've been building the 900 square feet classrooms, and they're averaging a little less than 700 square foot to the classroom down there.
Well, this, I hope they understand that these are not apples and oranges. These 2 buildings are different buildings.
Yes, ma'am.
Built one year and one built years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Totally different, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was next? Ms. Wood
I was just going to say why I feel comfortable with this approach. To me, it's like a needs assessment that we do in schools a lot, and we're looking sort of that big, 10,000-foot view, and I think if it was being done individually, each firm would be saying, well, we need to do this. This is what I decided was the need, and you wouldn't have the comparison like we'll have from one umbrella to say, well, no, this is, of these 3 schools which the superintendent has identified, this is the first on the list. And I think having one firm do that keeps from competing against, for 3 people competing for the same thing. So I like the idea personally. It'll help us rank order what we need to do. And as you said, we might have to do phase 1, maybe all 3 schools get something that's the highest priority, and then you go to the second priority. So I like the approach myself.
Was there a follow-up, Ms. Triplin, then Mrs. Superintendent? No? Yes?
Is this, and I appreciate the way you explained it, is this something that the secondary architect that comes along, so if DAG puts together the entire kind of proposed master plan for all of these schools, the second one comes along and looks at what they've already planned and then makes their proposal based on that plan. So is there a possibility for a cost savings for the second architect that's coming in?
Yes, the second architect will begin design immediately.
So they're not going to do anything, they're not going to create another, no new creation. They're going to use DAGs and then go for that.
Right.
So then why do we need another architect coming in? I'm struggling with this, guy, sorry.
To make it competitive at the next go
So
round,
if,
it comes to actually
right,
building.
if I may, this has been a priority of mine since I took office, and here we are now heading towards July, trying to take step 1, which was a conceptual plan that gave the big 10,000-foot view, however how many thousand feet up, to say these are all the 3 sites, these are our funding, so these are the resources we have. Can we do phase 1 at these? So there's one company that sees the big picture of all 3. I hear what you're saying, Ms. Striplin, and I do, about could it have been 3 different groups, and maybe it could have. Danny came to me with this recommendation that now then when the individual architects are selected, they will take what they're given with that master plan and drill down to exactly what's needed at the schools with the conceptual, after they have the conceptual design and the phasing, they'll say, okay, well, this is the plan for this building at this site. I mean, I do hear you, but I'm just.
Yeah. And I appreciate all the discussion because it helps me understand it. So I guess my final thought would be the need to communicate this to us before it lands on an agenda. This obviously has been in the works for a while, and you have some great vision and some great ideas about what you want to do with the district. If you could let us know, and so I could have grasped it from that concept before I looked at it and thought, why is one architect doing this master plan, these three schools that have nothing to do with each other? So just communicate with us and let us know that would probably help me.
All right, further comments other than high quality and everything that we do? That's very clear, I think. Haven't heard the discussion? Oh, is
A
there-
motion.
Well, didn't I get I had a motion.
Don't need a vote.
It's time to vote. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. It passes unanimously. Thank you, great discussion. 18.09,
18.09 is a hard bid.
Hard bid.
We are re-roofing the central kitchen at Tharp Street. Sheffield Building Specialties were the lowest responsive bid. The bid is $694,000.
just for the sake of the record, what's a hard bid, please?
A hard bid is we give them the documents and they give us a price and we're locked into the price, the time, the schedule, and we move forward.
I suspect we've heard that before. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Question, Striplin.
Thank you. I feel like we've been re-roofing the central kitchen for like a year now. We keep seeing this. Can you
Same
please
one?
explain to me one of the informational items that are attached? There is one firm that is missing a listing of major subcontractors, and obviously he got dinged on that. Can you explain why they wouldn't do that and what?
When the RFQ is presented, all the information's there, and if they do not supply, it's just the nature of the business. Some firms bid and don't even know I don't want to say they don't know what they're doing, but we do have firms that actually, we had one that was a roofing contractor and we requested a GC
Okay.
and they turned in a bid for it.
Do you explain to this company why this, because they're obviously the low bidder, but they did not comply with some requests. So are they communicated with that that's
Yes,
what
ma'am.
happened? Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You've heard the discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposers, the same. It passes unanimously. 1810. Yes, the Steel Magnolia, Ms. Bev. Yes, ma'am.
If you will remember, you have already approved a renewal term for Governor's Charter, and you directed us to negotiate a contract with them.
Yes.
The renewal term that we discussed was a 2-year charter with the option to renew if they met certain criteria. And the school decided not to go with a 3-year renewal, and so we brought you a 2-year charter. In the second year, they will have to apply for another renewal. And the expectation would be that they have met the criteria by that point.
Okay, Ms. Striplin.
Thank you. Quick comment. I just want to really thank you. I see that they had asked for a 5-year renewal, and for having the foresight and the attention to this to negotiate with them. We feel so like our hands are tied, and that we have to give them every benefit of the doubt. But with your wisdom on everything charter school related, I just really want to say how appreciative we are that you took the time and energy to really outline. I mean, I see some pretty tough language here, and this should be communicated with, with our community about this school, and that there are issues, and that they were requesting just another 5-year. Let's just send them on down the road. But I appreciate your effort in getting this to achieve.
And if I may, I had a really good charter school renewal committee.
Okay.
And they visited the school, they reviewed everything very, very carefully, and this was their recommendation. So they put a lot of work into it. It took a lot of time, and I think that our committees will continue to look very carefully at charter schools because they should be high performing if they're in our district.
Totally. We
That's
totally
a big
agree.
dollar amount there going right out the door.
Yes, it is.
Good job.
And we do certainly appreciate your attention to the details and keeping us in a place where we can know what's going on there, Bev. All right, did we have a motion and a second? Well, if we didn't, is there a motion?
Move approval.
Moved by Striplin, second by Rasmussen. Questions from no one, all in favor, or are there questions? Then,
Aye.
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 It passes unanimously. Mr. Pridgeon, Dr. Pridgeon?
Yes, 1811 is our certification of applicants for pre-qualified for bidding for LCS construction projects.
Is there anything more you want to add?
This is the one we bring every board meeting, and we
Well, in
update the
that case,
website.
move
It's a
approval.
yearly thing that they have to
It's
verify every year.
moved by Rasmussen, second by Striplin. Are there questions from the board? Hearing none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
So it's routine. We hear you, Dr. Pridgeon. 1812. Superintendent recommends approval for Amendment 1 to the STARS Education Services, Inc. Charter School Contract.
If you remember, STARS had a middle school charter school and actually ended up converting that to a K-8, which was a new application.
Right.
And it's very difficult for a new applicant to really make a good, firm determination about what their enrollment will be, especially when they don't know where their building's going to be located. In this case, this school has voluntarily requesting a decrease in their enrollment, which is a good thing to do because they're also decreasing their budget. They're adjusting their budget based on that. So when we monitor them, they will have a better monitoring report. So what this will do is decrease the overall enrollment because they don't have the capacity to serve the number of students they originally said they would serve.
Okay, sounds pretty realistic, huh? Wonderful.
Approval.
Move approval, second by Louis Butler. Questions? None? All in favor state aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. 1813 is a recommendation for the approval of Rippey Construction. Change order to Astoria Park Elementary School Building 01 Administrative Area finishes, canopy and window replacements, and drainage project, RFQ 370.2017. And Mr. Albritton is back. Talk to us a little bit, please, sir, about
First
that.
off, I'd like to thank the superintendent and the board for their leadership. Putting construction and facilities and maintenance back under one assistant superintendent has been fantastic. Allows us to do change orders like this.
All right.
The plumbing department in the capital outlay was approved a water project at Astoria Park Elementary. And with the renovation we're doing, before we pour a brand-new slab and put a canopy in, we are asking that y'all approve this $21,000 change order so we can put a 4-inch water line in for them.
Move approval. Second.
Should move on.
I wonder whose district that is. Never mind. It has been motioned and second. Are there questions? All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Hearing none. Thank you, Danny. 1814, the I'm Superman with the cape. The superintendent recommends policy 7250, naming of school and district facilities, pay secondary school.
Yeah.
Dr. Cox.
So we'd like to bring to you changing the name of a school. And I know that's usually a real big thing. PACE is an acronym, and it was a partnership that we had with Appalachian Mental Health many, many years ago.
Right.
So it's not named after anybody. And there's a couple of other reasons for this. We felt like these students deserve an identity like anybody else, all of our other students. Another reason is the executive director of PACE for Girls has contacted us over and over and over about their name and our name, and and I've gotten several calls wanting PACE for Girls 10 minutes into the conversation, those kind of things. So Amy, this is our administrator in charge of PACE and was a longtime employee there as well and has a passion for that school. I wanted to quickly give you the process and who we involved in changing that name. Amy?
All right.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Hannah. Just very quickly, we convened a committee December 12th of 2016 to discuss the name change. The members included administration, Dr. Cox, a retired administrator, parent liaison, our SAC chair, previous parent, a current parent, and also a previous teacher that had retired. During this first meeting, we did review the Leon County School Policy 7250, naming of school and district facilities. We also looked at our mission statement, current, and also our previous mission statement from 2015 to 2008. We met, we talked a lot about different ideas. The committee members didn't really have any ideas yet, but there was a few that were thrown out. The consensus was that everyone agreed that community schools should be in the name because we encompass the whole entire community, pulling in kids from different home zone schools. At the time, we decided to reconvene on January 7th, and during that time is when we talked about community school. And these are the names. We had Rise, Trails, Summit, Momentum, and Bridge that were brought to the group. We decided to take a couple of weeks to think about other names, and at that time, the committee members sent me more name options, and I have the students and parents vote on these name options. And those options were Heritage Trails Community School, Red Hills Community School, Summit Community School, and Rise Community School. And the most popular choice by far out of those was Heritage Trails Community School. And at that time, the committee agreed that we would go with that name. We felt like the Heritage Trails spoke to the many beautiful trails in Tallahassee, and Lake Heritage is also a beautiful lake in our community.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Triplin.
If I may, thank you guys so much for being open to this idea. That can't be easy to change your name. And I know Kelly Oddie, if she's watching us, she is just, she's asked me 3 times now, when y'all gonna vote on that? When y'all gonna vote on that? When they changing their name? And that is a statewide PACE, you know, for girls is a statewide organization. I think there is a lot of confusion. So just thank you guys for being open to that.
Appreciate it.
Move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Go ahead.
Questions? Hearing none. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your hard work, and thank you for being here. Mr. Cox, you worked hard too, I guess. 18.15, ratification of the 2017-2018 collective bargaining agreement between the local 1010, District Council 78, International Union and Painters and Allied Trades, local 1010, again, and the Leon County School Board. What say ye?
Good evening, school board members. I have my voice tonight.
Okay.
So I'm pleased to be able to share with you that both unions, both bargaining groups have ratified their contracts respectively, the changes. LESPA ratified on June 2nd by their membership, as well as Local 1010 on May 26, 2017. So we're excited about this opportunity and what we'll be able to afford employees that otherwise would not be receiving any additional monies or time. So the gift of time will be on the agenda this year for our employees in 1010 and LESPA.
Okay, questions?
Move approval.
Moved by Woods, second by Lewis Butler. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for your hard work. It passes unanimously. We appreciate it. We love it when a plan comes together. 18.16 is the ratification of 2017-2018 revisions to the 2011-14 collective bargaining contract between the Leon County Educational Staff Personnel, Staff Professional Association and the Leon County School Board.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's our, otherwise known as our LESPA bargaining unit. They too ratified their agreement on June 2nd, 2017 by membership, and they're excited about this opportunity for their membership.
Move approval.
Moved by Rasmussen.
Second.
Second by Lewis Butler. Questions from anyone? All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Thank you, ma'am. Oh, you're still there. 18.17, exempted administrative contract amendment.
Our exempt and administrators are not governed by any bargaining unit, but at the same time, the superintendent brought forth the notion that they would like to include administrators in this opportunity to afford them the gift of time as well. So effective July 1, with your approval, administrators will work 8-hour days, maintain their salary, as well as have their Fridays off.
Move approval.
Moved by Striplin, second by Lewis Butler. Questions?
In the summer, you meant.
In the summer only, during the school year, nonstop.
This July, yes, we understand.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye, it passes unanimously. and it's
Thank you, Madam Chair.
18.18, Osley McMullen Legal Services Agreement.
Yes, Madam Chair, we've had an
Sir.
agreement, the current contract dates back to 2002.
Yes.
With Osley McMullen. So I met with Mr. Wallen. It was time for us to look at that contract, and they've been very good to us in so many ways, whether it's Jeff or Opal, and can't thank you all enough for all that you and your firm has done for Leon County Schools. I mean that. But this is our updated contract with Osley McMullen for the 2017-2018 school year.
Move approval.
Moved by Strickland, second by Louis Butler. Comments from anyone? They do an outstanding job, and I'm trying to think of the man you succeeded, my good friend, Graham Carruthers, rest his soul. You've done a good job, Graham. You've got us all trained now, and we're doing all right, don't you think? All right, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Good job. It passes unanimously. Is there something else, Mr. Superintendent?
Last one of the night. This is what happens when you only have one school board meeting a month. We end up with 19 items. But this was a lawsuit that was brought forward years ago that has finally been settled. It was an accident with a bus, and it went to litigation. Then this is a settlement agreement of $175,000. We hate when this happens, but unfortunately, we live in a day and time.
society.
Yes, we do. We absolutely do. And I've received several a week, and I really fear for the future with not just public school system, but just the environment in general. That people first thing to do is run out and hire a lawyer. I'm not saying anything about this individual in this case and injuries that were sustained, but I am concerned with the amount of litigation that we are facing in the future. Having said that, this was a case that was settled. It went to trial and then negotiated after that. The sovereign immunity clause was invoked. As you see, not only with us, there was some situation at Florida State University that moved forward. We claimed sovereign immunity and then settled with this group for $175,000.
Move approval.
Moved by Woods.
Second.
Second by Strickland. Questioned by Rasmussen.
Just a comment. I had asked the question about, I think maybe the earlier contract we just approved with the Osley Law Firm will prevent this from happening again, but I was concerned, and I can't imagine that Neola doesn't have a risk management policy in their repertoire, but apparently not. So I've been asking about coming forward with a risk management policy so that we understand exactly who has the authority to decide whether or not to go to trial, whether or not to settle. And I assume that moving forward, Mr. Superintendent, that will all go through the Osley contract that we just approved. But I hope that we will soon be seeing, and I understand it's in the works, a risk management policy that we can adopt as a board.
Yes, ma'am, it absolutely will. And there's been a way of work, and Janet Heath has done wonderful work for our school system. And I've always said when we had a break-in at Leon and somebody said, well, we need to call Janet. And I said, you're wasting your time. You're not going to get any money from her. She is, protects public taxpayer dollars, and has for a number of years. But you're absolutely right. The way of work is kind of being adjusted, and everything will be run through that firm to make those tough decisions. And working with Mr. Wembley as well to kind of revamp and revitalize what's going on in risk management and to become proactive in risk management. Instead of reacting to situations like this, how can we get on the front of some of these cases and train not only our drivers, but other employees to try to avoid litigation altogether?
Right. And again, like you said, I'm not making any comment about this particular case. I haven't read the case. I don't know much about the case other than the detail that we've received. But moving forward, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page about who is authorized to decide to go to trial or not go to trial, and under what, do we have an executive session, or do we have, so those are the things that I hope our policy will articulate moving forward.
Okay.
It will.
I agree with that, and as particularly if you're saying that as we, dare I say, take on cases, but those cases would go through our Osley firm, and that would be understood that is what we're doing, and that's what I hear you saying, Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And staff would be expected to adhere to that so that we're all on. That's pretty important. Okay, where are we? Ready for a vote? Or is there all in favor? No, is there a motion?
Yeah.
There was? Then all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
All right, it passes unanimously.
Can I just add one little thing to
Yes.
tack onto that? If you look at this kind of the sweep of time, the district has gone through and redone its construction procedures, working on human resource, working on finance, and risk management's next. So this is just, I think, part of a continual process of improvement that we're going through. And I think as we work through it together, we will get a better process. and I'm optimistic about that, so.
And we're
Can I
glad you're here.
say one thing?
Sure.
When we were at the school boards conference, spoke to Wayne Blanton, who all of you know, working with the School Boards Association Consolidated Insurance Program that has risk management included, and I hope that we're going to at least take a hard look at that program as a school district.
We are, and we met with them several months ago, shortly after I took office, and in this fall, going to put out, bids and RFQs for different types of services, and that's certainly one of them.
Okay. Okay. Information items, upcoming meetings, financial statement, reports from board liaisons. Anybody with anything for the good of the order? Superintendent comments?
Briefly, Madam Chair, as you saw, the governor signed into law 7069, and I've had inquiries from the media about what effect this is going to have on our school system here in Leon County, not just Leon County, throughout the state of Florida. We're not quite sure, to be honest with you. DOE is going to have a lot of work to do. We'll wait for review by the State Board of Education so they can kind of give us some guidance as to the potential impact this may have for the next school year. It's a large document. There's a lot of pieces involved. With the money, we know the governor came back and allocated $100. For us, that's about $2.4 million. The cost of our healthcare is going to go up by, as you know, 6.8% for Leon County Schools. That means $1.7 million. That, along with our contributions to the Florida retirement system of about $600,000, that takes the 2.4. We were able to pull a rabbit out of a hat with LESPA and 1010 to offer bus drivers and food service workers a significant salary increase, but that was a one-time deal. There is no money, for teacher raises and for other employees that have given so long to the school system, because the legislature has pretty much taken the autonomy away from local superintendents and boards to make those decisions, because they're allocating money for Schools of Hope and $2.6 million for the Best and Brightest program, which rewards teachers on college entrance exams and other things, instead of giving those dollars to us and saying, okay, these are the needs of our employees in Leon County school system. They've taken that ability away from us to make those decisions, which is disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
But we've faced the legislature before, and every spring you wait to see what's going to come down from the Capitol and signed into law, and this is just another piece. But I have full faith and confidence. I know the Democrat did a story on us potentially closing some schools and schools going over to charters, and I have full faith and confidence that all 40 of the sites that I visited during my first 6 months are going to be up and running just like next fall, just like they were this past fall. I have no reason to believe otherwise. I know I talked to Board Member Wood earlier about the Schools of Hope and how we could potentially apply for some of that funding. I believe it was $149 million. How could the public school system potentially get in on that? I just don't know enough about it yet to comment. But it is disappointing. It almost seemed like the public school system was used as a pawn or a chess piece, so that the speaker got what he wanted, the governor got what he wanted, the Senate president got what he wanted, and yet the public schools are faced with this massive sweeping education bill, which leaves us with very little. But we crying and is not going to help. It is what it is, and we're gonna make the best of it and make the most of it. And then school's going to open on time next year, and as Coach Youngboy would say, the buses will be running, and we're going to be just fine.
Yes, we are. And I'm glad, go ahead, Ms. Wood.
You go ahead. Well, I was going to put it in my remarks, but since you brought it up, we'll just talk about it for a second, if that's okay. One of the things, I think we're all very, very disappointed that 7069 was passed, but as you say, it is passed, and so we need to figure out how to make those challenges opportunities for us. One of them is there 25 school districts are eligible to apply for wraparound services for our low-performing schools at $2,000 per student, so I hope that we will immediately start working on that, because I think we should be one of the 25 that apply. We just need to figure out in that bill what we can do to make sure, as you said, assure all of our public that our public schools are going to be opening just as they were. We're not closing any schools. And I think some people got that impression yesterday. And so I really appreciate you saying that out loud. And we all need to say that out loud, that we aren't going to be closing any schools or turning them over to charter corporations. That if we need to do turnarounds, we can do them ourselves. And I think there's still latitude in the bill for us to do that. So it's a challenge, but we can do it.
It is, we absolutely can. I want to be careful before I commit to applying for those dollars, because usually when you do things like that, whether it's Race for the Top or other funds, there's a lot of strings that are attached.
That's true. That's
And
what
other
I'm
kind, that you kind of go, well, you know what? You can just keep your money. It's not worth doing that to our kids and putting our schools and our children through those hoops. But we'll definitely look at it. I'll have, Jillian Gregory, who's out going to get her new baby boy from Columbia. I'm very excited for Miss Gregory, but Shane Seifert and Brett and Justin, they'll be doing some evaluations of exactly what that means in conjunction with communication from the Department of Education about Schools of Hope. And then I'll come back and we can have more discussions about it in the weeks to come.
Okay, great.
Ms. Lewis Butler?
Superintendent Hannah, do you plan to have a workshop on this? That we can, and putting a team together for these 6 schools that they identified in the paper?
Well, they used those 6 schools, but those were schools from last year. So the school grades will come out again, Shane, the end of this month, first part of July. And now what the difference is, it used to be a triple D would trigger the school turnaround program, and we have a school that may potentially fall, but may not. We just don't know. So some of those 6 schools, I'm going to take a leap and say they're going to come off of that list. Maybe all 6 will. We might not have any schools that would qualify. But now the problem is they've instituted an automatic trigger the first year of a D or an F. So I don't know how they're realistically going to ask us to, if it comes out in July, we've already made all of our decisions, we've already made all of our changes to get a plan in place less than a month later. I mean, it's just not realistic. But DOE is going to be faced with a challenge, just like every year we have a guidance document. And once that guidance document comes out, then yes, we will absolutely have more communication with the public and the board to say these are the direct impact, the direct ramifications that Leon County Schools is going to have to face as a result of this legislation.
Okay, I've been getting a lot of calls, and I wanted the public to hear you say that okay, so it doesn't count. These are schools on July the 1st.
And we've had not only them, I mean, I've talked to Scott Mazer, who's here tonight, about teachers are calling and they're scared, they're at these schools, and I'm just trying to calm those fears that, I hate to be, trust me, but just trust me.
Okay.
It's going to be okay.
Thank you for providing that response, comment, and explanation, Mr. Superintendent, and thank you for the questions. I think it's good to get information to the public as to where we are. We shall continue to move forward. Continuing concerns from board members, new issues from board members. We have one person to be heard.
Yes, ma'am, and I need to apologize. I went out to check with Scott before. He wanted to talk about 6.03, which was on the consent agenda, and I asked him, do you want to do it before or after? And he said after, and I think he thought after meant like right after, and I meant, like
At the end of the night.
persons to be heard, and he very graciously agreed
Sit here all night.
to sit here with us all night to talk. So maybe you can give
Okay.
him a brownie points or something tonight. But
Well,
Scott is
Get 4
Come
minutes
on,
instead of
come
3.
on up, Scott. Give us your name and address for the record. Speak slowly so that it looks like you've got more than 3 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're going to talk about the annual contracts, 7 to 69, and reappointments.
Yes, ma'am. Scott Mazer, 3319 Dartmoor Drive. Board, Superintendent, Council, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you guys tonight. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for the support during House Bill 7069. It means a lot to the teachers, to the community, that you guys spoke up in the way that you did, so vocally. It resonated not just here in Leon County, but statewide. So I really do appreciate your work on that. The other part is that since the beginning of this whole race to the top and teacher evaluation, for some reason I was plugged or picked or whatever it is to be a part of the process. So I've been a part of this teacher evaluation review committee from the very beginning when it was started. And I value the time that I've had on the committee, working with people like Shane Seifert in the district on trying to improve what is sometimes a very sticky situation, trying to evaluate the work that teachers do for students. The document that leads this is the Leon Leads Instructional Evaluation System. And one of the things that I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention that is that on page 6, it states that the purpose of the evaluation system is to increase student learning and to improve instructional practice. That's the purpose of the system. Can't agree with it more. However, at this point in time, we have somewhere between 80 to 113 teachers that were non-reappointed, and some of those teachers were not given any reason as to why they were not reappointed. And I know that's part of what kind of came through with 736 annual contracts, so I do understand that part. I want to bring it to your attention that I do understand from my personal point that there was an economic issue that hit about my 3rd year where I did get my pink slip just before becoming a professional services contract teacher. And that kind of swirl that takes place when you're not sure of what the next year is going to look like. And I think Dr. Henderson said it best when he said that, you know, it's about value. And valuing the work that our teachers do and respecting them enough to go ahead and be able to put in place a system that addresses what it is that they need to work on or improve, or the reason why they're not being asked back. And I know it's not necessarily something that is required by law, but it is one of those things that when someone leaves and when they still have to work for a month at that school after being told, you're not being asked back, why, I don't need to tell you, that's something that I look forward to working with you on figuring out a way how we can do that in a more humane way so that we can be respectful of those people that are working there. So with that, I just wanted to share one of the emails that I've received. It just says, my name is Alicia. I've been teaching for 6 years. I've been an effective teacher and I've taught here in Leon County. County for 2 years without any reason let go as an effective teacher. And she's asking me, what can we do? And at the same time, there are positions that are open, transfers being made, and phone calls that aren't being made to some teachers, and they're just kind of left in the loop. So
Okay.
I appreciate your time.
We thank you for being here tonight, Scott, and for bringing those concerns to us. And certainly, we want to make certain that individuals who worked for us and who may or may not continue understand that they are valued. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Further comments? All right.
Are we going to look at that practice? I guess is the question Scott was asking. Are we going to?
So I met with Scott. Dina and I both did this early this morning, and I'm going to school leaders. When I was an example, when I was a young teacher at Godby High School, Ms. Ortega would give everyone a pink slip. Every annual contract person received a pink slip, and then she'd try to hire you back over the course of the summer. School administrators for years have been trained by Joe Beckham and others, and I hate to call Mr. Beckham, but have been trained for years when you are reappointing, that if you give a reason, you have to then prove a reason. So it has been the training of these school administrators for a number of years that they thank them for the service. And it's just been a way of work, whether I agree with it, disagree with it, or whatever. For this year, for some reason, I'm like, we've been doing this for a long time in Leon County schools. Why is this still part of my honeymoon, or exactly what's going on? So I called a special meeting of all site administrators about 3 weeks ago, Dina? About 3 weeks ago, and had a come to hello, let's evaluate what's going on and what we're doing in the prior practice, and putting them in. And we had a presentation by Osley McMullen. Opal was there, Deborah Menace was there, about legal ramifications, about potential federal suits if it was of discrimination or for the other reasons that could be brought in federal court, and then asked each principal to go back the night before teacher transfer day and to have a good talking in the mirror with themselves to go through each person that was not reappointed, and to try to put themselves in their shoes to know that these are people with jobs and with families and they are due the same type of respect that you would want if I was making a change at a school site. That I would identify the reasons why, we would have that discussion, I would give you time, and at the end of the X amount of time, if those changes had taken place, great. If they hadn't, then they just hadn't. But we owe our employees a reason why they're not being renewed or not being reappointed. But I have to say, it is a total shift. I can't blame our administrators, because that was the way they were trained.
Okay.
That if it ended up in court, if it ended up in a legal battle, they would then, the onus of the burden of proof would be, how do you prove that this was the reason why? What do you have? So moving forward, I am looking forward to a great relationship. And Dina McAllister said, I serve, the teachers. I'm a former teacher. I serve the administration. I'm an administrator. How can we work better together? But I hope that our principals received the message that I was trying to give them, to try to for them to understand that these folks, it's not easy. As an example, I had a mad rush when I took over as superintendent of administrators coming to me. Do I have a job? Am I going to keep a job? And then now it goes, think how a teacher feels. They don't know until the 11th hour, until that last month before, that they're not being reappointed. So I think is if we can get our site administrator, and not just them, but me and others, to find ways to make sure we understand these people and value them and have a respect for them, and anything that we can do to facilitate a fix it rather than fire it mentality. That's what we need to do. That's the approach we need to take.
Right, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Further comments for the good of the order?
Move we adjourn.
Then Ms. Strickland moves we adjourn.